excited to be launching the long-awaited Women Who Roar podcast series here at SRQ Magazine's very own Studio B. Throughout the year, we'll be sharing the stories of leading women in our region to learn more about their journey to becoming who they are today and the experiences that have changed them along the way. So today we'll be spending time with Dr. Carol Probstfeld from State College of Florida, Manatee Sarasota. Carol, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh my goodness. You know, we are speaking during a very unprecedented time. And it just seems that everywhere you turn, things are changing and things are different. You know, in your position, you've been there since 2013 now, right?
I have. Time has gone by quickly.
It has gone by quickly. So has it gone by even more quickly in the last year and a half?
Sometimes it feels like it's gone very slowly, and sometimes it's gone by very quickly. But I think, you know, we're here today because we made some really good decisions. We've stayed focused on what was important, which was serving our students, giving them what they needed, and we made a decision really early on. We were only closed about 90 days, and we said we have to open our doors again because for many of our students, we're the safest place they can be. And we can't really create a nurse virtually, and our community needed them. So we put our plan together, we made sure everybody felt safe and comfortable, and we brought students back on campus.
So how do you stay ahead of the curve? You mentioned nurses. And I was having a conversation with a friend the other day who's a doctor in the area, and he was talking about the shortage of nurses in the area. And I said, I know State College of Florida is doing a lot of work to try to close that gap. What does that work look like, and how do you stay ahead of where the next trends or needs are going to be?
Well, let's address nursing first. That's been one of my goals. I've said we're going to find a way to double our output in terms of nursing. We have the physical capacity in terms of space with our sim centers and our labs. What we need is the recurring funding to hire the nursing educators. And we don't really have a hard time finding those nursing educators because our program is one of the best in the state and people want to be with a winner. And we're very proud of that. We have a long wait list of students who want to get into the program. So right now we're working with our local foundations and we're working with our local legislators and with our hospitals to try and put together enough resources to get us to the point where we can double the amount of nurses that we're putting out every year. So that would take us from about 160 graduates, that's with the 2-year ASN degree, to about 320.
Wow, and over what time period? How are you scaling that?
We're hoping for fall of next year.
Wow.
That we'll be able to bring the entire 320 students into the program.
So you and I have sat across the chamber board table many times, and certainly the discussion of workforce development, diversification of the economy, these have been benchmark conversations in the chamber halls because we're predominantly a tourism and condo, real estate development sort of economy. What do you think, I guess, how can we best prepare for the population that's coming here and developing workforce to be able to satisfy the jobs that will be available, the businesses that are going to be growing here? How do you know where to steer that ship?
It's an interesting question because a lot of times when you look at funding sources, they're always after the fact. And we're trying to stay ahead of the game. I think one of the greatest accomplishments I would give myself credit for is I hire great people. And now I have a team of senior administration so that we can be on all of the Economic Development Corporation boards, we can be on the chamber boards, we can be constantly listening and having those conversations, participating in the activities in the community so we can hear what's coming down the pike. And then we can start doing what we need to do to prepare programming to make it happen. Right now, for example, we just opened our coding academy, and we're over the summer we're able to bring in children all the way from second grade through high school graduates to introduce them to robotics and coding, and they're flying drones through the building and making their little robots dance and just opening their eyes to what the possibilities are, knowing that those are the careers that they're probably going to be seeking in the future.
I'm so glad to hear you say that. I was just about to ask about that continuum between the K through 12 and then post-secondary. And it seems as the world changes, and it's changing even faster now, technology, what does a career look like? Multiple careers during a lifespan. And I was going to ask how you prepare our K through 12, and how early do you start? So you mentioned second grade with the coders, to sort of get them into a place where they're going to be successful with what the economy looks like tomorrow.
Yeah, I think the thing that we're really focused on is my theory that to know us is to love us. And we want to bring young people onto our campus and spark their imagination. Seeing is believing, and they aren't even fully aware of what the possible careers are for them, but to get the opportunity to interact with a faculty member or to talk to a college kid or to play with a robot just creates you can see that spark. You can see them go, wow, this is really cool and this is something I might like to do. But we do know we need to start young. That being said, when I'm in a room of people, adults, I say, how many people are doing today what you thought you would be doing when you were in college? And almost no hands are raised because this phenomenon has been happening. You know, we've been training for one career and been evolving throughout our careers, but now I think starting students when they're very young, letting them know that there are a lot of options throughout their lifetime and giving them that breadth of experience and understanding is how we're going to prepare them to be successful in maybe even more career changes than we experienced in our life.
Oh my goodness, yes. I mean, I think most of the students, and we'll be meeting one of the girls from our SMARTgirl program later, but when we asked them about careers in the first year, we said, what career are you looking to invest time in? Do you want to explore? And there was a this and this and this and this. And many of them were also creative on one side and then very practical on the other. So we saw a lot of girls come back with, I'd like to be an attorney, but I'd also like to be a singer or an actor. And so they're trying to figure out this balance between sustainability and what they need to do to be self-sufficient and what they're passionate about. You know, and do you see that sort of that pathway coming together at SCF with students really coming to that place where they understand what they really want to do and are passionate about and then having the tools to be able to do it?
I think that's been the mission of the traditional two-year college forever, is to give students that opportunity to explore and find their passion and what the different aspects of that might be. And we have over 100 students participate in our music program. 40 of them are music majors. The rest of them are business majors, engineering, whatever it may be. But they have that creative side as well that they want to continue to nurture and explore.
So let me take you back. We're talking about second grade and coding and the world changing so quickly. And you mentioned careers we thought we were going to be in and not being. So where were you back in second grade? What got you excited as a second grader? Where did you think you were headed?
Well, I think as a young child, my passion was always animals. Oddly enough, even when I started college, I thought I wanted to go into vet school, but it just wasn't within the affordable range of my family. So the university I chose to go to because we could afford for me to go there. Unfortunately, we were in the state of California, and it was quite affordable. I went into business partially because I didn't really know what all the possibilities were. And I thought, well, accounting, my mother was in accounting, I'll do that. And interestingly, in my career, accounting always got me the job. My degree in marketing always got me the promotion. So even then, I was sort of doing the practical side and the creative part of me, and how could I put those two things together?
It's amazing to me. So you mentioned animals. And I think I read that you also do some underwater photography and diving. Do you get some of that animal joy, wildlife joy back when you're doing those dives?
I do. And I think one of the things I love about diving is I'm in their world. And there are some creatures underwater that some people are frightened of.
Oh, yes.
Sharks and eels and things like that. But I've found that if I respect their space, I respect their world, we can peacefully coexist. And I'm always so kind of rejuvenated about that and think about how if we could just find ways to put that in the rest of our life, how nice it would be. So for me, it's very much a Zen moment, but being able to watch and study and understand the mannerisms of the different underwater life is part of what lets you take photos. If you didn't understand what that fish was going to do, you're never going to get them because they're moving all the time.
Right, you can't react and react and react. You sort of have to figure out, is there a pattern here? Can I be where they're going to be? That's fantastic. You mentioned, sort of Zen moment. Outside of the water, what other areas do you find that Zen when the world is going crazy and you've got, piles of everything, both virtual and on your desk? How do you find that Zen?
Well, interestingly enough, I think it's just interacting with students, going to a basketball game or going to a music production. To me, you can get caught up in the noise, the politics and the problems that you have to solve and all those things that come about day to day. But when I go out and I can watch the students perform and I can be there for them, I can cheer them on at a game, I can tell myself, this is why we're here. This is what this is really all about. It's truly, to me, the most fulfilling part of this job.
So that reminds me of this past weekend over the holiday. We drove to New Orleans with our 11-year-old son, Griffin, and he was competing in the Midwinter Championships, an opti-sailing regatta at the Southern Yacht Club there. And so they're kids all the way from ages 6 to 16 who are sailing. And it amazes me how they go out and they are so confident in their space, experiencing something new. But behind all of that, it is a challenge. They're learning something that's hard. It's difficult to do. The weekend that we were there, it was storming and the winds were 20 knots, which, Griffin was like, oh, his, stomach sort of tightened, 20 knots. I'm really happy at 15. But being able to go out there and challenge yourself to do that, I think that quality, that persistence and ability to just say, I'm going to make it work. Like, it's such an important soft skill to instill in our students. Where do you think today's youth are seeing that and are experiencing that? Where are we helping them to create that sort of mettle?
Well, again, we're sort of unique as the two-year institution. We have students that come to us with all level of preparedness, all level of situations that they're dealing with in their life, and I am forever amazed at what students are able to overcome. Stories of a young lady who told me that nobody in her life ever told her she was able to do anything until a faculty member in a microbiology class. And then going and talking to her about her personal life, it's just the fact that she was there is just mind-blowing. Yeah. But what we can do at the college is those kind of things. And we reach out to these students that they're there by hook and crook, but we can let them know this is where you need to be. You can do anything you want to do. And that's another one of my favorite themes is you can get anywhere from here. We have students from the State College of Florida who have gone to every Ivy League institution in the country, every military academy. It's just, what do they want to do? Where do they want to go? And our job is to help them get there and to let them know that anything is possible. That's amazing. It's not a hard job to do when you have faculty that we have who, they want to teach, they're passionate about that. They could publish, they could do research, and some of them do, but they choose to be with us because what they want to do is teach students. And I think that makes all the difference.
You could say it's easy, but I've seen what you've done over the last almost decade. I mean, completely turning the State College of Florida around and making it such a leader in our workforce development and in our community. So I know that there's hard work. There may be the duck on the top of the pond, but there's a lot of paddling going on. In wrapping up, I just wanted to ask, so you're talking about being the inspiration for students and letting them know they can continue on these pathways and achieve what they want. Who was that person for you, or what was that experience for you?
I mean, hands down, it was my mother. My mother and father both were children of the Great Depression. My father didn't finish high school. My mother did. They went into the military. My mom was one of the first female Marines. Yes. And my dad was in the Navy, and and they raised us to work hard, have a great work ethic. But my mother was always, whatever you do for you. Don't plan on, your life shouldn't be about, I'm going to get married and I'm going to have children. Those are great things. Do that if you want to do that. But make sure you make decisions about what's going to nurture your soul as well. And she really, I don't remember a day in my life where I just didn't know I was going to college. And I don't know how she did that, but she did it. And when we were little kids, she would take us to the local college, which was Whittier College, and we'd walk around, and she'd say, what do you think those kids are studying? Or what do you think they do in there? And she was, putting that into our mind, and we didn't really even know that, my brother and I. And here we are, parents of two people, Depression era, went into the military, just finished high school, and my brother is a general surgeon, and I'm the president of a college. Unfortunately, my parents didn't live to see those things happen, but
I'm sure they know.
I'm sure they must be proud.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Carol. If you could hold on, we're going to take a quick pause, and then we're going to invite a special guest to join us to ask you a few more questions.
Wonderful. Thank you.
do it and do it early. The one regret that I have is that I had to wait until I was already, you know, with a family and everything, because this is the best thing I've ever done. I mean, I've always worked for somebody else, and it was great, and I always gave the best that I could, but the ability to be able to make decisions and to grow and this is the best thing I've ever done, and I would say go for it. Don't wait, time is now.
So we're back. Thanks so much. And joining us is Autumn Pepper Rhodes. And Pepper is an alumni of the SRQ Smart Girls program, which we host annually. And you just mentioned earlier that you have been at all 3 of our Smart Girls.
Yeah, so I went to the one in 2017, 2018, and 2019.
Oh my goodness, that's fantastic. So this is a most of the day experience where we pair women from the region to be mentors for 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade girls. And we spend the morning doing career exploration and conversation. And you really stood out because I remember you gave a great interview on our video interview booth at the very end. I was like, oh my gosh, so articulate. So thank you for joining us. A few questions. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How old are you? What school do you go to?
Yeah, so I'm 17. I go to Cypress Lake High School in Fort Myers, Florida, but I do enroll at Florida Gulf Coast University.
Fantastic. And you have been involved, and I think that's how you came to know about Smart Girls, in the Girl Scouts of the Gulf Coast. 11 years?
Yeah, I'm an 11-year Girl Scout.
Nice.
Joined when I was a daisy, like when I was 5. And I'm an ambassador now, so, and I'm going to be working on my Gold Award soon. So that's awesome.
So what's your fondest memory of being a Girl Scout?
Probably a couple of years ago, I helped with a camp for Gulf Coast, Florida, and it was like a mischief managed camp. It was like a Harry Potter themed.
That's very cool.
And I remember doing it here in Sarasota at the Girl Scout house, I think, or the Girl Scout like headquarters here in Sarasota. And I remember like a bunch of girls being there, and it was just a really fun environment, and there was a lot of like fun games going on and crafts, and I really like helping with the girls and like mentoring and stuff, so that was really fun for me.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like a lot of fun. Just bringing like the world of magic and Harry Potter to life, like with hands-on, that's fantastic. And then I heard something about a pilot's license.
Oh, yeah.
What is that all about?
Yeah, so I've been flying since I was 10.
Oh my goodness.
I went to...
Okay, so flying the little mechanical, with, like this, or actually flying in planes?
Flying in small aircraft. So I fly in a Cessna
awesome.
172, which is a small aircraft, it's a 4-seater, but I fly with the CFI. I fly out of Pagefield Airport right now, and I just turned 17, so I'm eligible to get my pilot's license now, but I have to complete a few more cross countries, and then my written exam and my practical, and then I'm done.
Wow. And so what was the very first flight like for you?
Oh, yeah. So I went to an organization in the area. They're called the Experimental Aircraft Association, and they have a Young Eagles program where they allow students ages 11 to, or even 10 through 21 to fly for the first time with volunteer pilots. And I went up for the first time with a gentleman named Rich, and he has an RV-8 aircraft, which is like a really sleek, small aircraft, 2-seater.
Sounds fast.
Not really.
Not really? Okay.
Yeah. When you think sleek, you think like jet.
I do, right, exactly.
But not quite that fast.
Aerodynamic. Right.
Yeah, but I fell in love with it. I cheesily call it love at first flight. So
That's great.
yeah,
That's great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And I understand you have some questions for Carol.
I do.
So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. My first question is, can you talk a little bit about your life and because I read about you, but I don't know too much about, your upbringing or what led you to this point.
Well, it was a very circuitous route. I honestly had no aspiration to become a college president. But I think that everything that happened in my life from the time I was a little girl, being inspired by my mother and making my way through college and not really being able to choose a degree, so I chose two and it was a double major, led me to this point. But somebody said to me, sometimes opportunity chooses you. And I think the most important lesson I learned was, when a door opens, take it. Great things come when you get out of your own comfort zone. And so when this opportunity presented itself to me, I told myself no repeatedly until my husband intervened and said, "Are you out of your mind? Just say yes. Everything you've done in your life up to this point has prepared you for this. So just say yes." So I guess I would just say, take advantage of the opportunities that come your way and just say yes when doors open.
Definitely. Oh, wow. That was very deep. Thank you for that. So you talked about how you didn't always want to be in the field of education. And so what were some major milestones that led you to this point in your career?
Well, when I graduated from college, I was a business major, accounting and marketing. I went to work for Shell Oil, and my job was to move crude oil from Alaska to Southern California.
Oh, wow.
It's a pretty big job for somebody right out of college.
Yeah.
And occasionally the unit train would derail, and I'd get calls in the middle of the night about putting it back on track. And I thought this was fun because it was like high pressure, high energy kind of work, but it wasn't really fulfilling. And then I moved from California to the Midwest, and I went to work again. My accounting degree got my job. I went to work for hospice. And I was the chief financial officer for a hospice, and I realized that there's, in any line of work where you're helping people, the rewards far outweigh anything else that I can imagine doing. And so I spent time in hospice, then I moved again. My husband's career kept moving us, moved to Ohio, went to work in the alcohol and drug rehabilitation business, which was a little different than hospice. The clientele's a little different. Some want to be there, some don't.
Right.
But still, it was rewarding because I knew I was changing people's lives. And then I was recruited to go work in higher education, and I thought, here's really an opportunity not to change lives further down the path, but to be at the beginning and help people explore and discover what they want to do and set them on their path.
That's so amazing. You seem like such a giving and caring person. My last question for you is, can you describe a time where you encountered an obstacle or a roadblock where you weren't really sure what you were going to do and you were able, what you did to overcome it?
I think we have a lot of those throughout life, and I think the most recently is really what got me into being the president of the college. I have a passion for the institution, and we were going through a really rough time with our board at the time and politics as they were at the time, and the president at that time kind of coming to what I would say an unfriendly divorce. And somebody made the comment to me that you really need to take this job if you love this college because you're going to be the best thing at this point in time. But I knew I had a lot to overcome because there were a lot of hurt feelings in the community. There was a lot of what we call town gown relationships that needed to be rebuilt. There were fractions between my college board and my foundation board that needed to be put back together. So it was about spending a lot of time in my first couple of years listening, rebuilding relationships, establishing credibility is very important. And I came up with my favorite tagline, which is, we do what we say, and we live up to our promises, and we provide a strong rate of return. And that's what I expect everybody at the college to live up to, and I think we do.
Wow, what a mediator.
Yeah, it was an interesting time, and it was very, very stressful. But the one important thing I learned is the more difficult you anticipate a conversation is going to be, the more you need to have it, and the more frequently you need to have it.
Definitely.
Even though it's tough. Like I said, great things never come from comfort zones.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much.
Well, thank you for your questions. It's very interesting, very insightful for you to ask those things.
Oh, thank you.
Tell me about what 2 years of high school in a virtual environment, how was that for you?
Yeah, it's crazy to think that my sophomore year was a COVID year. It was really rough. I had a really personally rough time in quarantine. I had a lot of mental health issues. Mental health just went down, drastically. And I found it hard to have motivation. And honestly, because COVID started kind of in March, so right after COVID ended, we had summer, and that was where everything kind of went wrong. Everything, because we were in such isolation, and then that's where everything kind of went downhill. But my school actually opened up for in-person classes with masks and a lot of precautions, of course. And I think that being in person definitely helped me. Obviously, there were so many restrictions applied, but it definitely instilled, like, it allowed for that social aspect that was lost. And yeah, I didn't have too much experience, fortunately, with having to do school online. I only had to do it for that, like, month or two that we were online in 2019. So yeah, I didn't have that much experience with it, but I'm very grateful that I got to go back to in-person classes, and I think it would have been a lot different if I hadn't. So, yeah.
Well, you know what? Congratulations for getting through that. It was a very difficult time for a lot of people, and continues to be. You know, I remember when we opened our college back up, I had students waiting in line to get into the bookstore, and they said, Dr. Probstfeld, we'll do anything. You just tell us what we need to do so we can stay coming face to face. We don't want to go back to virtual.
Exactly. Everybody lost motivation. Everybody, like, just lost the will to do work. And I know that sounds kind of silly, but it's really hard when you don't have that, like, external motivator, like your teachers, your friends to look forward to, you know, the lunch period to look forward to.
Sure.
So you lose all those things that you cling on to when school gets really hard, and you don't have that, especially if you're taking, like, hard classes. Like, I know people in my sophomore year who were seniors and, like, taking AP calculus, and, like, they were struggling, and I can't even imagine how hard that must have been for them motivation-wise, because that hard material on top of not having, you know, that stress relief from being with your friends and being social. So I think I can't even imagine how hard that must have been for them.
I can't either. My dear friend, Dr. Donald O'Shea, who used to be the president at New College, said that first and foremost, education is a social activity.
Yeah, definitely.
And when we took that aspect out of it, as much as we try to reproduce that in a virtual environment, it really does have an impact. But here you are, dual enrolled at Florida Gulf Coast. How's that going?
It's a challenge, definitely. I've been getting my first B's ever, and I know that sounds like kind of goody two-shoes, but it's true. And yeah, it's my first B's ever. They're in chem. Professors are rude sometimes, a little silly, but it's okay. But yeah, I'm pushing through, and I just can't beat myself up over it, because I know that my classes are, like, really rigorous, and I'm trying to realize that and, like, understand that it's rigorous for a reason. You're taking these classes for a reason. And, like, instead of having just a few AP classes, it's like having all of your schedule be AP classes. So, and I don't have, like, a leisure class this semester, or I didn't. I didn't have, like, ceramics or, like, theater or anything. So it was just all academic classes, which was really hard.
That is challenging.
Yeah, at my high school, it's an arts high school, so we have at least, like, 1 or 3 arts classes. And I didn't have that, which was really new and different for me.
Yeah, I can imagine. So what's your career aspiration? Do you know?
Oh, yeah. So it's changed a lot over the years.
Of course.
But as it does. But I definitely want to be an astrophysicist, and study the stars, and I'm especially interested in, like, a cosmology, or, like, the origins of the universe. I think that's really cool. But also I want to be a pilot, so it's like, I think it'd be really cool to be a CFI, which is a certified flight instructor, and they teach adults and students how to fly. And at EAA, the place that I did my first flight at, they after I did my first flight, I kept coming back and volunteering. And so I've been volunteering there for, like, 5 years. Nice. And I now teach. I'm, like, the volunteer team lead, so I organize what the volunteers do at the EAA meetings, and then I teach the young Eagles their class, and then, like, tell the volunteers what to do and how to do it and where to go and at what point. So
a lot of responsibility.
It's really fun, though. I really, really enjoy it. And I think doing that for, like, a living, or maybe for just, like, a long time in my career, I think that'd be really, really fun, especially with children, like kids and young adults.
Oh, sure. And, you know, you might as well love what you do.
Exactly.
Because you're going to be working for a long time.
Yeah.
Good for you. That's exciting. I can't wait to see what you do.
Thank
That's an
you.
interesting career path. Do you know where the university is that might have that program that you can?
Yeah, so my top university is actually the University of Chicago.
Okay.
So, but I'm mostly for their astrophysics program. If I don't get in there, I also am looking at Purdue for their planetary sciences program or aeronautical engineering.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, good.
So
That's exciting. So
yeah.
you're applying now and you're taking your campus tours and you're doing all those things?
I'm about to do campus tours.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
So I'm a junior, so I apply next year.
Okay.
So yeah, unless I do early admission, of course. But
Yeah. Well, it's never too early to get started.
Right,
It's
definitely.
good that you're thinking all that through and you know what you want to do. That's
Thank you.
exciting.
Thank you so much.
Next time around, maybe you'll be in the hot seat and
Oh,
we'll be
maybe.
asking you about
There you go.
That'd be cool.
how you manage the career from all of these different interest points and navigate it along the way. Thank you, Pepper, for joining us. And I guess we're not going to see you at SMARTgirl this year because you're in high school now.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you.
A junior.
Junior,
Wow.
oh my goodness.
Crazy.
Wow. Yeah, so thank you for spending all your time with us over those years and for coming today
Yeah.
to share your time with Carol and I. And Carol, thank you so much for being our special
my
guest
pleasure.
today. Getting to know a
Very
little bit
much
more
enjoyed it.
about your career pathway and all the wonderful things that you are doing and how you're able to step outside of your comfort zone and tackle the difficult questions. I'm going to keep that with me. If it's a difficult conversation, it's one you absolutely need to have. That's such great advice. Thank you
thank
so
you.
much. We'll
Thank
see
you.
everybody at the next podcast.